Place. Sit. Off. Live in. Live in. Live in. No. Live in. Okay. Tank. Los. 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 Sit. Live in. Live in. Live in. Off. No. No. Live in. Live in. Place. Place. Off. Live in. Okay. Good boy.
Welcome back to P2TK9. My name is Chris, and we are going into another dog talk. So I opened this video with two different snippets. One of me working a dog during my time at 5th Special Forces Group there on the obstacle course, and then a second video doing some pet training. And I had a question from an account that we stay in contact through Instagram, who's out there in Oklahoma doing the Lord's work and asks questions from time to time and looks for a little bit of training input, and I'm happy to oblige. And he saw some training footage on Instagram of a NePoPo trainer doing place training and asked me, is there a reason or a place for this in their program, and what can it provide? So I am happy to give an explanation on that. So we're going to dive into the weeds, and this dog talk is going to cover place training. So we're going to go back in time, and we're going to discuss the origin of place training. Where did it come from and how did it develop? And I was absolutely there when this whole thing started going down. So I was with 7th Special Forces Group while it was still located at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. And we had the program up and running, as well as other programs there in the area. And Don't let it be told any differently. All credit where credit is due. There was an operator at First SF ODD, and that's all I'm going to say. If you don't know what that is, you may Google it. And he became the training NCO for their program, and he's retired and doing his own thing, not in the working dog or tactical space, so we'll leave his name out of it. But it was absolutely his idea. He's an avid duck hunter, and at the time he'd been doing a lot of gun dog work and retriever work for duck hunting, and he had been training with a guy by the name of Pat Nolan. Now, you probably recognize that name these days. He's been around a lot. He's been a fixture at the ATK9 seminar and others for quite some time. Great guy, very knowledgeable about dogs, and an excellent trainer. Well, Pat came over by invite to put on some training, and part of what he brought out was place training. So this training NCO at the time at this unit, he did not know exactly how this was going to plug in, but his statement to me at the time was, I don't know exactly how this is going to factor in and what the application would be, but I just have a feeling that if we bring this guy out here and we look at what he's doing and we compare some of the things that are taking place in the retriever / gun dog world, I think we're going to find some applicability inside the multi-purpose canine CAD. If you don't know the CAD program, you can Google that too, and it's not computer-aided design. We can take some of these principles and some of this training methodology and improve our tactical programs. And I said, well, okay, well, let's take a look. And at the time, Pat Nolan did not own a company called Tactical Directionals. Pat came in as a gun dog trainer, bird dog guy, duck retriever, and started giving us his thoughts on e-collar, place training. And he looked around, and being a smart guy with a business entrepreneurial spirit, he said, holy cow, I think that I can take this into the tactical arena and stand up a whole new business to what I'm doing. And he did, and that was his tactical directional business. And he's done quite well with that in the meantime throughout the GWOT and beyond. So that is exactly how place training became a feature in the special operations community. And this was way before NePoPo was even a thing. Nobody had heard of NePoPo before this, and it wasn't even on the scene in any serious issue or profile. So with that being said, I want to make sure credit where credit is due and tell the timeline in the sequence of events that are correct. Pat Nolan was the first one in the door. Pat Nolan didn't have a business. He started a business as a response to seeing an opportunity to move into that tactical realm, which he did. NePoPo was not on the scene, and I could do a whole nother video taking a giant dump on that, and I may at some time in the future, but that's where we're at. So we started into this place training arena, and it started to dovetail with another trainer who was being brought in at the time that I spoke about in e-collar techniques, past and present, which was George Hickox. So George Hickox was doing a lot of the first clicker training and also some e-collar work in the space for the special operations canine world. And then he was also a retriever bird dog guy, and so he also had a place work component to his as well. And I'm going to be honest with you, at first glance, I just wasn't seeing it. I didn't see how this was going to plug in or benefit, but we stuck with it and rolled with it for a time being, and then things started to just started to materialize. You could kind of see, well, wait a minute. So if we do the place training, now we can use it going this direction or going that direction. And I'm not being evasive on purpose. I just want to have some continuity to this whole discussion. So what are we talking about when we're talking about place training? So in the opening video, the piece where I was working with a dog from 5th Special Forces Group, that's the O course at Fort Campbell. And the place table you're looking at there, it looks like a chunk of somebody's deck off of their house put out into the OB yard. It's on pressure treated 4x4 legs. They can vary in height from 6 or 8 inches off the ground, a pretty low one, to a pretty well elevated platform, maybe even up to 16 or 18 inches on the ground, but somewhere in that range. Size may vary depending on what you want to do. So when you first want to get your dog up there and get them clicking on this, a 4x4 section is about as big as you want to go. A 3x3 is good, but you want at first for the dog to be able to get up there comfortably and to be able to lay down. Later on, and we can discuss how this goes, how you can shrink that platform for a specific reason and make it smaller and smaller. But at first, when you introduce a dog to place training, you're going to want a pretty large platform that the dog can get on comfortably. And why did I say lay down? Well, we'll get to that, and that's part of your obedience training. And if you have a dog, so that piece of video that I showed starting off is also featured in Eastern Bloc Dogs and how to train them, because that in fact was an Eastern Bloc dog, and place training was absolutely integral into what he was doing. In the other video at the beginning of this, you're going to see the place cots. And this is an example of one of the place cots. I get these off of Amazon. I don't sell them. I don't make any money. I'm not affiliated with the company, but this company is K&H Pet Products. This is a plastic frame that it's on. It's got what your minimum would be, which is about 4 to 5 inches off the ground. And it's got this nice sturdy mesh middle to it. And I really like these for training, whether it's pet or tactical. And remember, that's my whole business model, P2T K9, practical to tactical. There is way more crossover between working dogs, sporting dogs, pet ownership, good, well-trained pets, than there are differences. So that was the whole genesis behind the naming of my company and my philosophy when I go out and train and teach other people. So your minimum is going to be 4 or 5 inches high. I really like this because it's so incredibly light. These things also on Amazon, at times I can find certain color patterns on sale. We got this brown mesh one here. There's a gray one. Behind there are a couple that have a Realtree camo border. I got the 2 Realtree ones, I think, for $35 each. That pattern just went on sale and I grabbed 2 more of them. So these are very cost effective. With my open beam style shop in here, I can take them and hook them by the feet up on the wall and get them out of the way. The ones from the O course, those are really heavy overbuilt ones that are intended to stand up to the weather and be left outside pretty much on a year-round basis, that have really heavy, large breed, large drive dogs on them to stand up to the toenails, to a lot of repeated reps. Your off-leash canine training centers will have those because of the number of dogs that they bring through there and cycle through. But for my purposes out here, when I'm doing my training and I go on the road, I can stick 4 of these in a very small space in any vehicle that I'm driving, and they're very light and easy to move around. So I'm a big fan of these mesh ones just for the price and the utility of them. So with that being said, it can be your piece of deck, or it can be one of these. This is a large, and I have really good success with this. German Shepherds up to about 100 pounds. I might include the video. I did a Great Dane just last week, and he was 130 pounds, and this one was kind of like sitting on the lid of a 5-gallon bucket for him. It was a little tight, but we still made it work. So what do you do with this and why? So there's 2 different ways to go about getting a dog up here and teaching them the place. The account that I was referring to in Oklahoma, the piece of video that he sent to me and made this initial inquiry, showed a NePoPo style introduction to the place training. Now that's not my preferred methodology, but I will say, if you look up on Instagram, if you're in the Mid-Atlantic region, my buddy Todd Smith that I worked with at the Department of State, he is now doing his own thing, Trinity Canine Services, doing training there in the Mid-Atlantic coast, Maryland, Delaware region. He will start out on his place training, and he does basically the NePoPo style. He doesn't directly do NePoPo, but I'm going to call it the style, which is we bring the dog in on a leash, and then we keep ready to apply leash pressure. And at any point that the dog tries to get off of there, leash pressure is used on some type of a collar, perhaps a choke collar of some kind or a slip collar, to, if the dog tries to get off of here, to make the dog uncomfortable until they settle back onto the place board or the cot and they relieve their own pressure on the leash. And they basically make the dog uncomfortable trying to get off of the place cot until the dog surrenders to the place cot and takes the pressure off of the leash and off of that collar on its own, teaching the dog that the safe space is up here on this place board, on the place cot, and the dog learns to relieve its own pressure. Now, that's not my preferred method of doing it, and I'll explain the differences, but Todd has a ton of success with this, and I don't want to be incorrect, but I'm pretty sure he told me that that's a takeaway from Eric Stanbro, is where he got that methodology, and he copies it, and he copies it to great success. If you look at Todd's account, Trinity Canine Services on Instagram, he gets some excellent monster place and hold behavior out of the dogs that he trains. He will do on camera time 25-30 minute place and holds in public settings with distractors out of the dogs that he's training, and that's excellent. So what he's doing is working. It's working for him. I go about it slightly differently because I'm pairing it with e-collar training. Todd also runs an e-collar training program. We're just going to the same place via two different routes. Now, the reason that I do it, Todd does it up front with getting the dog to surrender so that they give in to staying on place up front for a long period. The way I go about it, let me step out of frame here for a second. I've got my little beef flavored liver treats, and I've got my clicker, and I will take a razor knife and cut these liver treats down even into smaller portions. And I'm going to lure the dog onto the place cot, and the minute that they start putting feet on there, I'm going to hit that clicker and pay, and I'm going to teach this dog to get on the place cot by giving them that food treat and hitting that clicker. And of course you're going to say, well, probably there's a dog that you had to train on this and they weren't food driven enough to participate. And yes, I've had that, and I'll try to remember to speak on that after the fact. But I'm going to build value, and I prefer building value where they run to this cot and dive on it out of excitement, rather than doing what I'm still calling loosely the NePoPo method, which is making the dog uncomfortable and then finding the edges and finding collar and leash pressure and then relieving their own pressure by staying on place. It does work, and they will send to place doing that method, but I prefer building that value by having that click treat. And as we start getting 1 and 2 feet on there, I'm going to keep luring and withhold that treat until I get a 3rd foot, and I won't hit that clicker until I get 3 points of contact. Then I'm going to require, in just a few reps, 4 points of contact, all 4 feet right up here on this place board. Then I'm going to start clicking and paying. Once they're luring on here consistently and giving me 4 points of contact, once the 4th point is on the place cot, that's when I mark that behavior, because I want 4 points, the dog all the way on here. Then I'm going to mark and pay. Then I start assigning a name to that, and I'm going to call it place. So I'm going to lure the dog in. I'm going to get 4 points of contact. I'm going to hit that clicker, marking 4 points of contact. Then I'm going to name it, announce it, place, and then I'm going to pay. and I'm going to stick with that for a series of reps, maybe a day, day and a half. Then I'm going to start calling for behaviors. The whole time I'm moving on and off the place cot with whatever your recall is going to be. If it's come or here or whatever you're doing, I'm going to start motion towards the place cot with come or here. I'm going to mark that motion. Once they get up here with 4 points of contact, I'm going to mark that behavior, then I'm going to name it place, then I'm going to pay, then it's going to be come, and I'm going to present place, and I'm going to throw that name out there up front. Then once I get 4 points of contact, I'm going to mark and pay. So I went from naming it after they perform it to calling for it by name and then clicking it upon completion. So now I've just reversed the order a little bit and I'm telling them what I want. Now they're going to be diving. I've got tons of footage of everything from 2 and 3 month old puppies to dogs that are several years old before I train them, who once I say place and I point to it, they run and they Superman dive at this thing and land on it with zeal because we've placed a value on jumping up here. And we're going to stick with that click and treat for a few days. And the reason I do it that way is I always want that value. I want a reason for them jumping up there other than just avoiding the pressure. So that's how I go about it. Once I've got that pretty consistent, then I'm going to bring in a collar system, an e-collar, and that's where the rubber really starts to hit the road. So tons and tons and tons of things that you can do with this place training, and it is just not limited to pets, and it is not limited to the tactical or the sport world or the gun dog world. It is it's probably some of the most useful utilitarian training across the board, across all spectrums that you can do. So once I've got them up here, they're coming at command, marking that motion coming to me. I'm marking the place of them getting on here. I'm going to teach them to sit on here. And now we're going back to my statement at the beginning about dimensions, about a 4x4 or 3x3. This one is a large from K&H Products. Let me step out of frame here, grab a handy dandy. Inside the rails, almost 28 inches by 40. So that's a pretty good size footprint for even a large breed dog to get up there and get comfortable. And this is where I referenced earlier, I want him to be able to sit and I want him to be able to get down. And so you'll see, if you look at any of my pet stuff on Instagram or over on TikTok, you're going to see me getting the dog up here, and then once they've learned place and they're coming to place on command, I'm going to click that but not pay. Then I'm going to start working my sit up here, and it's going to be motion with recall, place, then it's a sit, and I'm going to mark each one of those successful motions. Then I'm going to pay on sit. Then it's going to be recall, place, sit, and down, and it's going to be all done on the place cot for a reason. But I want that dog to know all of their basic obedience moves going to this place cot. The recall, getting on here, sitting on here, and then going into a down. And I'm going to explain where I'm going with all of that. But once they're up here and they're comfortable with that, now we're cooking with gas. Whether I'm doing a tactical dog or whether I'm doing a pet dog, there's a reason that I've got 3 more of these right here next to me. And once this dog is showing an understanding of the recall command, if they're coming to me, if they're jumping up here on place, very quickly, I'm going to add a second cot. Now it's going to be jump on there and take place and sit. Now I'm going to start my movement. I'm going to start moving around obstacles in here in the shop, if I've got the truck in here or the tractor or the boat, or whether I've got it all cleaned out. With new dogs that aren't completely e-collar conditioned yet and their recall is suspect, I'm going to start in here in my building, big doors down, pedestrian door closed. I'm going to have the dog walled off from escape, because again, this is a new dog from the ground up, and we don't have them on that e-collar recall. So if I've got other stuff parked in here, I'm going to start building distance and duration by getting them on place and holding them there. And I'm going to get them on place and I'm going to mark but not pay. And I'm going to start backing away in increments and holding them there and then coming back and paying once I return to them when they maintain that sit on the place cot. Then I'm going to add more distance and duration by going out around the truck or around the boat. If the truck is in here, I'm going completely into the blind. I go over to the next bay and I walk behind this big crew cab truck. Dog can't see me. I'm going completely out of sight in short increments to start building up. And again, whether it's a pet or for a tactical application, you need to build that distance, you got to build the duration, and you got to start going out of sight of the dog and having them maintain that sit or that down on the place cot. Stick with me. We're building this snowball just a little bit at a time. Once they start understanding that, I'm going to bring that e-collar in, and now that's where we start correcting to get them back on place. This is basically the old kids game, the floor is lava. I'm going to go back to my 15-foot leash. So all of the start of this, the first 2 or 3 days, where I'm kind of what the industry calls free shaping the behaviors. I'm calling the dog, I'm hitting the clicker. The dog isn't on the leash. Everything is voluntary. I'm luring with the food. I'm marking with my clicker. I'm paying. All of this is going to be off leash, and we're going to develop this trust and this voluntary cooperation with the system just with luring and doing my click treat. Once we've got that, and I've started building some distance and duration and going out of sight a little bit in here, I'm going to introduce my e-collar system, and now I'm going to go with my 15-foot pocket tracker. Check out p2tk9.com for these. And I'm going to hook it to the dog, and now we're going to pair that with our e-collar. So I hook it back to the dog. If the dog jumps off because they don't know what the e-collar really means yet, I'm assuming we are starting with a pet or a tactical dog that has no prior knowledge of an e-collar system, so I have to show them how to deal with that stimulation, and I cover a lot of this in that e-collar's past and present techniques. So I am using this. He knows that there's value up here. Jumping on that place cot is worthy of a reward. Now I put this 15-footer on, and when I tell that dog to place and to sit, as I start to move away on that 15-footer, I don't have the range to go out of sight all the way around the truck, but I'm going to start to elongate that duration of them sitting up here and waiting patiently, because I'm going to click it when they get up here and sit, but I'm going to withhold reward because I'm building that time, and I'm going to pay them on place for holding that duration. So as I back away, we'll pretend that he's out there on the brown one. I don't want to stand up and get out of frame and walk out and have a janky video. If he's on that far place cot, the reason for the 15-footer is the minute that dog jumps down, I am going to start tagging him with a low level of just bump, 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 e-collar stimulation, and I'm going to reiterate place. And the dog doesn't know what to do with this pressure yet, but I'm going to show him what to do. Once they jump down, I'm going to bump, 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 and I'm using the 15-footer to control him. And while I am steering with one hand, I'm still bumping e-collar with the other hand and telling him place. And once that dog gets back up on place, the e-collar pressure stops. So now I'm kind of backing my way in to where what I call the knee po style started with, which is showing the dog how to relieve pressure. So now I am teaching the dog, this is how you escape e-collar pressure in this situation. So I bump, bump, bump. The best piece that the place training provides is a change in terrain. The reason that 4 to 5 inches minimum is the entry level for this is you need the dog to step up and experience a change of elevation from all of the surface around here. This is going to develop extremely clear lines of communication with your dog, and it is going to create an extremely ethical playing field for you to incorporate some type of an e-collar training system where you can communicate with that dog and they understand it. Again, I refer back to my past and present techniques video. This is the basis of the Wheel of Fortune, Pat, I'd like to solve the puzzle e-collar training. The dog gets down, the dog feels pressure, I apply pressure, I turn him around, I take him back to the safe space, to that avoidance space where the dog can get back up there, the pressure is relieved, and now I'm communicating clearly with the dog. When I tell you to get up there and hold it up there, you gotta stay. And if you get down, you are going to feel that pressure. You will relieve that pressure once you get back up there. The reason I'm using the 15-footer is to not allow any other avenue of escape from that pressure other than returning back to that place caught. That is the only thing at this stage of the game that's going to relieve that pressure, and I have to have that leash on there to be able to turn him back. I can't risk him running a bay or two down, getting behind the boat, under the boat, around the truck. None of that is an option. Right now, mentally, I need to let him know the only way, as soon as you step off of there, you're going to feel it. As soon as you comply with getting back on place, you're going to relieve it for yourself. And it's very clear lines of communication. And once they jump back up there and I relieve the pressure, I'm going to hit that clicker and they're going to get another liver treat. And now we're going to start really drawing the contrast of, you stay up here, this is a high value activity, you're going to get paid for it, this is a place that has value for you, you jump down before you're called to, and now you're going to feel the stimulation. Once I get the dog to buy in to staying on that cot to avoid the stim, then I'm going to call him off the cot. So when he's listening to me and taking all commands from me, once I call him off the cot, I'm going to call him to me with my recall, come, here, whatever it is you're going to use. Once he comes to me, no pressure, no stim, comes down, comes right over to me, and I get a click and pay for returning to me from the place cot. And now we are getting our recall initiated right there. So this is a very, very good technique. It's very linear. It's a way to introduce that e-collar. It's a way to start building your place foundation. Now, I touched on that change in elevation, and there's a reason for that. And this crosses all those lines between sport dog, tactical dog, and pet dog training. Now that they're up off of the ground, this thing has 4 edges to it. This map, this worldview for them is as clear as it gets. I'm up here on place, and as a dog goes along, I'll see, credit to George Hickox, the impure thought. If I see that impure thought and that dog starts to put a foot off of this place cot, I can start bumping that e-collar until I'm placed, and you can watch a dog go backwards and go right back onto that place, and the stimulation goes away, and they know. It takes initiative on their part to step down off of this cot to the lower surface on the outside of it. Even a dog that goes 2 points of contact down, I can start bumping that e-collar, bump, 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 place, and it would blow your mind the number of dogs who don't even complete getting down. They just start walking backwards and they put those 2 contact points back up here on the place cot and they relieve their own pressure. It is very clear, it's very ethical, and it works great. So, where do we go next with this? If you are talking about training for a tactical dog, and I went through the whole story, stepping out of frame, coming back, 2 new Chuckit balls here still in the cardboard. If you are talking about the example of the Eastern Bloc dog and how to train them, so the dog featured in the video at the beginning of this from 5th group, the Eastern Bloc back tie dog has all possession and no out. They don't waste any time. These dogs, again, go back and watch that video for the full explanation. They're sold very young. They are nothing but a ball of drive out the yin yang. They will grab and possess anything and they won't let it go, and they're never taught to let it go. They don't even try to get them to let it go. And the reason for that, they sell them young, they sell them fast, they sell them cheap, and that's why a lot of vendors start picking them up, because they're high drive, all gas, no brakes, and They get them young, and departments, as I've discussed in other videos, that want a lot of longevity out of the dogs at the lowest price point possible, they kind of gravitate to these dogs, and there's a market segment for them. So in that video, the dog being shown, Tank, when he outs the black palm, that dog had 0 out. I used the place training to teach him the out. Now, what does that look like? I'm going to have 2 toys. I'm going to wear my dump pouch. I'll go ahead and put it on just for the sake of demonstrating here and how we can work this. So I'm going to throw my dump pouch on. I know this dog is all drive, no out. So this is how I'm going to start teaching him. I hope I'm not out of frame. I framed the camera at the top of the flag. I think I'm still in there. So I'm going to have 2 toys on me. I'm going to put one in the pouch out of sight. I'm going to start with the first toy, and I'm going to lure this dog up here with the toy, and I'm going to mark with my clicker as he jumps on, and I'm going to name it place, and I'm going to give him the toy when he's up here, and he's going to grab it and he's going to possess it. If the toy bounces or he fumbles at the mouth and it goes off of here, let him pick it up and then bring him back up here on place. So now we're building value to jump on place by giving this high drive dog with no out a toy to get up here. So he's very motivated to get up here because there's a reason. Now he's possessing the toy. Slobber, foam everywhere. He doesn't want to let it go. Now I am going to use my 15-foot leash because he jumped up there on his own. Now I'm going to use this 15-foot leash to keep him up there, and I'm going to come from, so let's put that one down. Dog's got that one. It's in his mouth. I'm using leash pressure to control him to keep him up there, and I'm going to present that second toy, and I'm going to start. Again, he doesn't know anything, and the only way to get this dog to let something go at this point is a full choke out. 10 and 2 on the collar, take him off strong, just gag him, and the ball falls out. So I just started immediately with the out command. So he's up here holding it. I'm holding the toy, just a little bit of back pressure to keep him on the place board, and I was using one of those that was featured in that video clip. From Fifth Group, so it's the piece of decking with the pressure treated lumber, and I'm holding it up there and I'm telling him Los. He doesn't know Los, I get it, but I'm also luring and showing him a second one, which he very much wants. The minute that first one, he starts to loosen that grip and it falls out, I hit that clicker and I drop the second one down onto the floor and let him pursue it. And you need to let him pursue the second toy, and you need to get that first one up and back into your dump pouch. Excellent work. Now he's back on the floor, out of frame to pick up this first toy. He's on the floor and he's got it again. I am going to use back pressure, and I'm going to tell him Los. The minute he wants this second one and it comes out, I'm going to click that and tell him place, and it's going to be the ticket for him to jump back up here on place and get the first one. And while he's busy going for the second toy, I'm going to pick up the one that's on the floor and I'm going to put it back in my dump pouch. And now he's back up here on the place board. He's got it. Now we're going to hold him here and we start the process over. I'm going to present the second one, and then I'm going to hold him until he lets it go. I'm going to click that Los or out command of whichever one you're using, and then I'm going to pay him off table. So the ball, the toy, it becomes the reward for getting onto the table. Outing becomes the price of admission to get off the table and claim the second toy. And I'm going to work this 2-toy system until I get a very quick presentation of the second toy, and then it's going to be click and pay for the out and get him down off the table, and then we're going to move to a single toy. So I don't want to make this an out video. I just did one 1 or 2 videos back. Go back and watch that one. But we're going to work from 2 toys down to 1, and the way that we're going to leverage that is using the place training as the price of admission to play this 2-ball game. And now we're going to tap into some of that pet training of that interrupt and redirect, and have a place for the dog to go in order to keep this whole cycle rolling. You jump up here, you get paid. I hold you up here, I show you your second opportunity to get paid. The price of getting down from here is the out. I pay you with the second toy on the out, and you're allowed to jump down and grab that toy. And we're just going back and forth with this thing until I can get it down to a single toy. So let me put these items aside real quick. That is an inroads to your outing. Now, as I explained in the out and understanding the out and how to get it in one of the recent videos, the ball, a bowl of food, and a decoy are all in the same category as far as line items for a dog. Now, they value those and interact with those in different ways, but for a dog, as far as the way they look at these things mentally, those are all in the same category. So once I've got that dog understanding the out, getting onto place, holding them on place, building distance and duration, and adding distractions, this can be incorporated into your control sequence, into dogs that have problems outing, dogs that have issues passing their patrol certifications, that dreaded once a year where your dog really has to know the out and be able to behave. Again, go back and look at my prior videos. I think that should be your aim the whole way. I am not, hey, this dog is dirty and nasty and won't out and won't let go and is just bite and hold, bite and hold. I think that is a very archaic view. I don't think there's any place in it in modern working dog programs, and especially now that you have body cams, everyone's carrying a cell phone, every house has a Ring camera system or similar product. Go back and look at some of my way early videos about this police dog training needs to stop. There are cameras everywhere. You don't have the option anymore for your dog to be on a guy and to really be deep into a bite and hold, and you having major problems trying to get this dog off. And then only treat the certification as a 1-year thing where you're biting your fingernails and sweating bullets. You go out behind the building and you electrocute this dog or rough handle him until he's going to come around in front of the evaluator and just do the bare minimum of what he needs to do to get that stamp on your certification for the year, and then you go back to letting him just run amok. I'm not a big believer in that, and I think you absolutely, I know you can. I don't want to say I think. I demonstrated it for 11 years in soft MPC. You can have a dog that is an absolutely standout, competent biter in all tactical conditions that is still level-headed and controllable and will out when you say you need to based on tactics and safety issues. So with that being said, this is a great tool. Imagine this, you're doing your training for your control sequence. If your dog is e-collar conditioned, you can get them up on this place cot. You can easily move it. It's not like being limited to the OB yard when you have that piece of deck on 4x4 pressure treated legs. You can pick this up, take it to any venue, any abandoned building, put your dog on this. You can present someone in a full exposed bite suit, or you can put a bite suit with your thrift store clothing over top of it. But you can present this guy, you can interact with him, you can give him lawful commands, and this place cot is as far as he can go. The second that dog takes a step off of this place cot, you can hit that e-collar and bump, and tell him place and get him right back on here. I've done it in turnovers, when I take a pet dog in for training and I'm giving it back to the owner without that place cot, and you've all seen it. Everybody watching this in the working dog category, it's either been your dog or somebody in your training group or at your department or unit. You've seen them on the ground with your dog's elbows on the deck, and you're doing a pat down on your decoy, and that dog is shuffling on its elbows, closing the distance to you and the decoy Oh, I'm not up. I didn't stand up. I didn't break the down, but I sure am closing distance. I'm shuffling along on my elbows, and I'm getting closer to that high value item that I want. Now we don't have the clear lines of communication. We don't have that ethical communication with the e-collar. Even if that dog's on its elbows and you're tapping it and you're telling it down or you're telling it bliving, dog is really cheating the system and you're hitting him and he's still moving along on his elbows. You can't tell me that that dog really understands what they're required to do. Once you elevate them 4 or 5 inches off the ground and you put them on that place cot, you can really turn up the level on that collar and maintain that sit stay, that down stay on one of these place cots. Another problem that you have during your control sequence, you send the dog and you either get the out or you do the call off, and they're supposed to come back to you and come into a heel before you do the full send, and then you do your out or you take them off for the last time. The dog recalls or calls off and they come back and they do what? Half the distance, 2/3 of the distance back to you, and then they down and face the decoy, and they're out there where that brown place cot is, and they're not up here in the heel. If you teach them place, you can also teach them to come into the heel, whether they do the Schutzen circle behind and face you, or they come in on the left side and turn around and face out. When you teach them to come into that heel on this place cot, you put that place cot right next to you. There is no ambiguity about where are you supposed to report to avoid that e-collar pressure. When I do the recall and I tell you plots, heel, whatever it is I'm using, that means right here on the XM effort. It's not 10 feet down there. It's not halfway to the decoy. It is right here and only right here. That is a great way to get that full recall back to you during these control sequences. And I know what you're saying. You're probably saying, Chris, that's dumb because the certifying official is not going to allow me to use the place cot. You don't have to. If you're training regularly and you use that place cot both as a visual target and a physical terrain feature that they get up on, this is how you teach it. You're asking me, how do you know? Because I do the exact same thing when it comes to door manners for pet dogs. I go right over there to that shop door, to that pedestrian door. I put the place cot where I want that dog to be. I walk over, I tell them place. I've got them already e-collar conditioned. They know the consequences for coming off of place. I move the place cot over there. I call them over, put them on place. I open the door. I step into the blind around the corner. There's not a blind like a Schutzen blind. I just step out of visual sight of the dog. I go around the left corner, come back in. I hit the clicker and pay him with the door open. I continue to hold him in sit on the place. I go to the other side of the door out of sight. I come back in. I close the door, and then we heel away from the door. And I do that in a series of 5 or 6 reps. On that 6th or 7th rep, I pick the place cot up, bring it all the way back over here. He and I walk right back over there to where that wall locker is at by the door. I tell him sit, the dog sits. I open the door. I go out of frame to the left. I go out of frame to the right. I might go around the old ton truck in the driveway. That dog sits right there. I come back in and I shut the door and I pay the dog for sitting there and we walk away. The last step that I do is quit paying the dog when I come back in with the click treat, because we're extincting that out. It's not going to be a requirement long term to click and treat. But the point is, I'm able to hold that sit stay on place. It's very strong, it's very ethical. I show them where this thing is going to be, and then when I take it away, they go to that spot and they stay there because they have learned through repetition that that's where this is going to be and how the whole system works. You can do the same thing with your control sequence training when you have a decoy in there. And you can have multiple different positions throughout. If you take 3 or 4 place cots out there, you can have the one where I want you to stop at on the call off. You can have the one where you have to recall back to the full heel. You can have the one for the standoff when I come down there and out him and we do the pat down and restraining of the decoy. I want you on this one, and it's 4 feet away, or it's 6 inches away. It's wherever you want it, but now you have a powerful tool that marks this is where you're at. X marks the spot, and if you get down, there are consequences that you can understand, and then you can take that place caught out. You can use it consistently through the year, or you can start the week before certifications, get those place cots back out there, even do a warm-up the morning of with your place cots, and then pull the place cots out of it once you go out onto the certification field with your certifying official and your decoy, and the dog is going to perform way better than if you're trying to go without it. The breech, I talk about door manners, and you're saying, well, that's pet bullshit. I'm a working dog handler. Great. This is one of the things that we started to learn when Pat Nolan came in and this training started to take hold in the community. You can take this place caught up. If you've got a dog that's getting supercharged at the breech, start your team integration and your breech training putting a place cot out there. We're going to walk up. You're going to see this. It's going to be a visual target. It's this 3-dimensional change in terrain feature. You're going to get up on it, and now I can hold you there during the entire sequence of events that it takes to come up, get a breaching charge on there, do the breach, and send everybody in. We can start with this right here. And then you're going to say, well, that's dumb. This is big, and we're not going to have that. Yeah, I got it. I got some other stuff over here just barely out of frame. This is your basic Thermarest sleeping pad, and this thing is useful for a whole lot of stuff, including PT and sleeping on C-17s to get you off that metal deck. I've had this one forever. It's gone to many, many countries. You can take this Thermarest and you can cut it in half, or you can cut off a third or a quarter. And once your dog understands that this place cot or that place table means place and what the consequences are, you can reduce that signature down for a tactical application, and you can use a small piece of Thermarest pad, and you can cut that down and roll it up and stick it in your pack and carry it with you. Or you can cut a piece off and use this for your realistic full mission profile training, where you go up and you throw that down at the door and you hold the dog on that. It doesn't have that 4 or 5 inches of relief from everything around it, but it is a texture difference, and the dog can see that and target it, and you can maintain that 4 points of contact. You can use the Me-Po-Po with leash pressure to keep them on here, or you can use e-collar pressure with a little bit of leash guidance to keep them on here. But this does have a tactile difference from the ground around it, and that dog will understand when they feel this little squishy foam pad under all 4 feet that this is where you have to be. It can't be cheating, it can't be hanging off of it, it can't be your back feet on here, and this is a powerful tool. Other angles that we use with this over time in the tactical community, especially this lightweight place cot. I need to teach my dog to ride in a GMV or another tactical vehicle that it's unsure of. Great. Right here is your gateway to that. You can throw this into any vehicle, onto any surface. It's a visual target, it's a known quantity, and this is an apparatus that has value to the dog. If I go up to a vehicle and the dog sees this in there and I tell him place, the dog knows what to do with that. When I'm teaching them to ride in a large tactical vehicle or an aircraft where other personnel are going to be at, I will start with this full-size place cot and get them comfortable with it. Then we start doing what I talked about with this Thermarest pad or with other dog cots on the market, and we shrink that footprint down to keep them obedient and calm on an ever-decreasing footprint, so that there's more room for other people on the team to be in there and hem that dog in and keep him calm and obedient on a smaller and smaller piece of real estate. You can take this and go throw it right into the door of a Black Hawk or a Chinook or anything else, and once the dog sees that and you've taught it that this thing has value through click treat, you can go right up to that aircraft, place. Oh yeah, place. I know what that means. I recognize this object. I'm just going to plop right up here on it. Boom, do a little click treat, fire up engines, get it hot, click, treat, we're good. Hey, let's do some elevators up and down off the ground, do some hot load, jump down, jump in, place, click, treat. This thing is an avenue to tons and tons and tons of stuff. The control sequence, a dog that has an issue with toy outing, teaching the breech, positioning the dog relative to a door on the breech, being able to hold him there, getting onto vehicles, getting onto aircraft. This thing is absolutely amazing. Now let's go back to the pet side for a minute. Once I've done the place cot, well, my dog, I don't want to have the place cot in the house. Great. Here's a pillow bed. This one happens to be from Tractor Supply. They can see it. They can recognize it at a distance. It has about 4 or 5 inches of relief from the floor. It has a tactile difference. It feels different than everything else around it. You can teach the dog place on their place bed. You can enforce staying on this bed the exact same way you do on a place cot. The dog starts to step off, bump, bump, place. You'll see that foot come right back on here, and you can hold that dog here for an extended period. This thing, you can decide if you don't want your dog, whether it's a working dog or a pet, hey, I don't want you in the kitchen underneath my feet while I'm doing meal prep. My little Malinois that you've seen on Instagram, Bones, I've got a little dog bed in there halfway between the kitchen and the dining room. I've put him on place and held him there for meal prep and meals so many times. When we come up from the basement, if I go into the kitchen, I don't even have to say it anymore. Bones goes over there and jumps on that little foam bed and lays down on it, because he knows only 3 things are going to happen. He's either going to get on there and stay on there, he's going to get down and he's going to be corrected with an e-collar to get back on it. And if I have to correct him too many times and it's a pain in my ass, he's going in the box until I'm done fixing meals and eating. Now we don't even talk about it. He goes up there, he goes straight to it. There have been a couple of times where I've moved it into another room and forgot to move it back. We go upstairs, I go in the kitchen, he lays down on the bare floor exactly where that thing is at all the time, just like with the door manners, just like it can translate onto the certification field, just like it can translate onto the breech. Through muscle memory and knowing where that's at and knowing what the expectation is at that given moment, he just goes to where that thing has been historically, and he goes into it down because he doesn't want an e-collar correction and he doesn't want put in the box. He'd rather hang out with me at a distance and be where he's supposed to be, and then we're going to move on with our day. So in the pet world, or even your working dog, if they live inside, you can teach them where to be by using this place command on your pillow bed. So the applications of place training, they're phenomenal. They're really deep, they're really broad. If you think about it, you probably have examples that I haven't either touched on today or even thought about in general moving forward, but there is a ton of application to every facet. Just living with your working dog, having them in your home environment, using them in the field. The cost of these things and the mobility of them, there's no reason not to incorporate that into your training. Again, that's why I call it, oh, before I forget, go back on Todd's Instagram at Trinity Canine Services. He did a train up with a German Shepherd for a guy that owns a liquor store in his area. The guy wants his dog in there as part of his overall security and deterrence package, but he doesn't want the dog underfoot or driving away business for people who aren't necessarily comfortable around dogs. And you've probably gone into many, many gas stations or stores that have the little electronic bing bong, bing bong. When you open the door, the owner has that at his liquor store. So if he's working in the back or stocking shelves, he knows when someone opens the door. Todd got one of those doorbells and he used that as the prompt to teach place. He could hit that chime, bing bong, and the dog would run and jump on place. And he's paying the dog for getting on place. I think he was paying him with a toy instead of a food click treat, but it doesn't matter. He built value in the place. He taught the prompt with it being the stimulus, being the door chime rather than saying place. So that way, no matter where the dog was at in the store, the minute someone pushed that door and it chimed, the dog would run around behind the counter and jump onto that place cot and hold it until the owner called it down. Absolutely brilliant train up. The owner loved it. Go and look at that on his Instagram, Trinity Canine Services. Phenomenal use of place training. And it worked for the guy. He was super happy. The dog runs to place. It's out of sight, out of mind. If he needed to use that as part of his security deterrence package, then he would just call him, Foofy, come, and the dog comes off the place cot from behind the shelves back there behind the cash register and the counter, and then boom, all of a sudden a German Shepherd appears as part of my security and or deterrence package. It was a lovely train up. So just another example, when I do it for pet training clients, hey, if you got a problem with dogs that get over-energized when you have company, if you have a problem with dogs that crowd the table when you're at doing a meal, if you have a problem with your dog jumping up and hitting the front door when UPS or FedEx or Amazon comes, if you still want that dog to be part of your deterrence, teach them place training, put the place cot 10 feet back from the door where it's not a pain in your ass, positioned where people at the door can look over your shoulder and go, oh wow, there's a large breed dog sitting over there patiently looking right at me. That is very intimidating and a good deterrence. That is where the place training will start paying dividends, and you can put it anywhere you want it to be. You put that dog on place, people look over your shoulder. You go back and look at one of my earliest videos, why you don't need a bite dog. That dog that's on place, sitting there, staring at the front door, a large breed dog that looks squared away and trained, people will already mentally assume the worst, that if I do anything threatening, that dog's going to jump down and have my ass. And you don't even have to have a bite dog. It's not even necessary. They just look the part, they act the part. People don't even want to go down that road and find out. So, place training, there it is in the short thumbnail sketch. That's about 1 hour. I'm trying to keep these things from being insanely long. Place training, same thing as your back seat of your vehicle. If your king cab folds down into a flat cargo floor, a flat surface is a flat surface. You open your door, you tell your dog sit, you point to the truck and you say place. Dog jumps up there, you tell him place into a sit. Now you have a dog that's not a safety hazard when you're driving. You put your dog in your SUV, in the back seat, in the seat of your van, in the folded down cargo area of your crew cab truck. You tell that dog place sit. That dog starts getting too energized and stimulated going down the road. Bump your e-collar, bump, bump, sit. If you've got an SUV and the dog comes off the bench seat into the floor and is coming between the seats, bump, bump, place. Make them jump back onto that bench seat and sit to avoid the pressure. Mark it with your general continuation marker or your praise marker. Yes, problem solved. All these avenues. If you have any questions, as always, you can hit me up on Instagram, direct message me, P2TK9. You can put something in the comments. I'm not as diligent about looking at the comments on the YouTube channel as I am checking messages on the Instagram. So hit me up. I got the website. The equipment's on the website. Seminar prices are quoted for any kind of seminar that you want me to put on, and then also individual prices for board and train. Let me know what you need. I'm here for you. Thanks for watching. See me on the next one.